The story of today takes us all the way to the state of Mexico, in specific, the neighborhood of Tepito. In the heart of Mexico City, under the watch of the nation's capital, a violent criminal empire was born. While the government claimed there were no cartels in the capital, one group rose to power through extortion, bloodshed, and deception. This is the untold story of La Unión Tepito, also known as the Cartel Chilango. The roots of La Unión Tepito takes us back to the early 2000s. The man who started the Unión Tepito was Juan Juárez Orozco, better known as El Abuelo. El Abuelo started La Unión Tepito because foreigners tried to take over his neighborhoods. El Abuelo was a street criminal that was very smart and not just your regular one. He had connections to the powerful Beltrán Leiva organization, led by Arturo Beltrán Leiva, also known as El Barbas. So El Abuelo used his connections with El Barbas and got support from him. He created a powerful smuggling and distribution operation in Mexico City. Cocaine was his specialty, and he reportedly was moving up to 35 tons into the US, all while keeping a low profile in Tepito, one of the city's oldest and roughest neighborhoods. However, this wasn't a peaceful rise to power. Early on, there was another organization that was calling themselves La Unión Tepito as well. El Abuelo started setting up meetings with other gang leaders from the state of Mexico. He managed to get some gangs to join his organization, while the other gangs went with the rival. That group was influenced by Edgar Valdez Villarreal, better known as La Barbie, a flashy and ruthless trafficker. La Barbie wanted to control Mexico City, but El Abuelo was a native and had deeper local roots, so he wasn't having none of that. He wasn't going to let another guy come and take over his neighborhood, so he started fighting against La Barbie, so much that La Barbie had to change the name of his group from La Unión Tepito to La Mano con Ojos. El Abuelo's crew, the original Unión Tepito, was more streetwise and knew their way around. Eventually, they forced La Barbie to leave the capital. This victory marked the real beginning of La Unión Tepito as a dominant force in Mexico City. Once El Abuelo solidified his control in Mexico City, he had La Unión Tepito diversify quickly. They didn't just want to move drugs. They started by extorting street vendors, infiltrating local businesses, and ran prostitution rings. One of their more disturbing schemes involved recruiting women to offer escort services online. They even started operating in identity theft and romance scams, using dating apps to lure people, and then they will steal their information and drain their bank accounts, while the government continued to claim that there were no cartels in Mexico City. La Unión Tepito was proving them otherwise though, expanding its network of influence across the capital, backed by fear, money, and blood. By the mid-2010s, the group started to reach new levels. They started to reach a new height in Tepito. They constructed a network of underground tunnels, not only to move drugs, but also to escape during raids. Meanwhile, one of their new leaders, Oscar Andrés Flores, also known as El Lunares, became notorious for riding around Mexico City in high-end vehicles and even in off-road racers, mocking the police and the public. La Unión Tepito had a very famous moment in 2018 when the Unión sent hitmen dressed as mariachis and carried out a hit in the middle of Plaza Garibaldi, one of the city's most iconic tourist areas. 3 people were killed. La Unión Tepito's extortion practices became one of their most feared tactics. From small taco vendors to large nightclubs, anyone doing businesses in Mexico City risked being forced to pay piso, protection money, or face brutal consequences. They were famous for being ruthless to those who refused to pay. Refusing to pay the Unión Tepito could mean being burned alive. Yes, being set on fire. Some would just get torched as warning. Others disappeared without a trace. Business owners were trapped, pay up or die, and all the while authorities were slow to respond, some allegedly even complicit in the group's operations. For years, the Mexican government denied the organization, but that lie became impossible to maintain as bodies piled up and videos circulated online. Public pressure mounted. Eventually, the crackdown began. In 2020, El Lunares was captured, though he was later released and rearrested under a different charge. In 2024, Eduardo Ramirez Tiburcio, alias El Chori, was taken down. Then came El Tigre, their financial operator, arrested in early 2025. The arrests were major blows, but many questioned, was that enough and was that too late? La Unión Tepito isn't just a cartel, it's a symbol of how deeply organized crime can entrench itself when government institutions look the other way. Born from the ashes of the Beltrán Leiva organization, guided by a street boss named El Abuelo, and empowered by corruption and neglect, La Unión Tepito grew into one of Mexico's most terrifying criminal groups right in the capital. The real danger wasn't just what they did, it was how long they did it for, while the world pretended they weren't there.